Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to The Last Ego on Earth. My name is James Scott Shoemaker, and today we're going to have a real treat for you. Steven Gable and I are hosting a conversation with Devan J. Byrne, also known as Rev Dev. Man, I didn't know anything before I spoke to Rev Dev, and Steven didn't either, really. We wanted to keep it that way so that it was a conversation of kind of uncovering his thought system, and boy, were we surprised. It was such a treat to speak to him. He's an organizer, an instructor, a consoler, and a webmaster, and he also intertwines the Course in Miracles within his teachings. Such an interesting concept. And you know, from my own experience and some of the things I've seen through Revelation, a lot of these things really lined up with what Rev Dev was saying. So I let whoever has whatever feelings and whatever spiritual revelations they have, I definitely bring them in, and I know that they're a part of the awakening. Everybody's going to be awakened in different areas, and boy, did Rev Dev bring some stuff to the table that is very, very interesting, and I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll have some of the links and things for Rev Dev at the end of the clip and also down below. Also, feel free to leave some comments down below and let me know what you guys think. You know, keeping this conversation going is what it's all about, the joining, not separation. We want to join with our brothers and sisters. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, guys, peace be with you. I love you, and I will see you guys on the other side. All right, guys, bye-bye. One more thing real quick, guys. You can find Rev Dev at openandclear.com. openandclear.com. And that's awesome. We can stay open and clear and in love. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
No.
It's me. No.
Devin, you're muted at the moment. You can unmute yourself.
Oh my God! He's in the
You're in the
universe.
cloud. Wow.
What?
The star cloud. Wow.
Are you? What? This is amazing.
Yeah, you got yourself locked up in a car, and here I am, locked up
And then
in
you're in the
distance.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, we're in the social distance world, and you're just in the universe floating around. That's beautiful. Well, hey, Rev Dev, I don't know. I don't think you've met Mr. Steven Gable over here. He's my mighty companion that started out with me when I first started The Last Ego on Earth. He was the first person that joined with me, and ever since we've just been on all this journey together, and it's been great. But man, I am so glad I'm so glad that we're finally getting to connect here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So we on and live is right already?
We are, and I can always edit out whatever, but absolutely, we are live. Yep.
Yeah. Well, sorry I took a minute. I was actually on a very sunny hike with my toddlers. Oh, wow. I let them decide where we're gonna go. I say, are we going this way or that way? And they took us up a really bright sunny hill that had no shade whatsoever, and it was intense.
Oh man, I bet. Where are you again? I can't remember. Where are you located?
Central Utah.
Utah. So is that what's the degree of the heat there? What you got there?
I don't know. I have to look up that stuff.
Oh.
There we go. It says we're only at 80. Oh no, there we go. Just 98 degrees.
Okay, that's pretty hot. Yeah. It's warm here. It's warm here for sure. And then Steven's in New York. He said it's about to rain, so I'm jealous a little bit about that.
That's good.
But hey, man, welcome to The Last Ego on Earth. You know, we like to keep this as a conversation. This entire time, I still have no idea about you at all. I mean, there's nothing. I made sure like you're this like present under the Christmas tree that we're gonna unwrap. I did see a near-death experience. I think I saw that on your main page, and then I was like, okay, I can't see anymore. So I'm just gonna give the floor open to you. And I think what we'll kind of jump into is, number one, a little bit about you, and then how the course came to you, and kind of your journey through the Course in Miracles.
Sure. So the boring stuff, huh? No.
Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. The last ego on Earth. I'm the last ego on Earth. You're not.
I'm the last ego on Earth.
I am.
That's great.
Anyway, let's see. So, I mean, specify. Where do you want me to start? Give me something.
So, did something profound happen before the Course entered your life?
Oh.
Are you a teacher of the Course? As we said, you spoke of it, or what I saw was a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Maybe start there. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I mean that's tricky. You just say, "Hey, what's whole existence? What's all existence?" Why don't we just start with all existence? What is it, right? No.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, let's go there.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you ask what profound things have happened before I came to A Course in Miracles. Actually, my death experience came from my, say, a vision quest where I did A Course in Miracles the first time, and I gave up everything. I divorced my wife, and I sought out to transcend the world. I was going to forgive everything. I was going to be the last ego on Earth. And
Right.
yeah, so I mean, to make a long story short, in that sense of December 12th, the end of the universe, I did have a death experience where it was a whole disappearance of the universe for me. And so I would contest that is true, December 10th of 2012.
Right.
But it came off on a deliberate practice of attempting to forgive and let go of every last little thing. And I can say in that moment, I was being irritated by the partner I was traveling with, and because I was sitting in meditation, and she just comes wandering, and I let go of the last thing, and I started having a seizure. And
Oh, wow.
so I would, that's what she says. I started having a seizure. To me, my life started flashing before my eyes. So I started seeing everything in all the stories of my life, and I was given another opportunity to decide if they were good or bad, or if I liked them or had any more judgments about them. And I saw it all as good, and so nothing was stopping me. And just going closer to the light, it's hard to explain because there's several different dimensions of explaining it, and I really hope to be able to compile being able to teach it in different ways.
Right.
But to form construct, I tried to explain it with imagery. And so as my life was flashing before my eyes and I was going younger and younger, in that moment it was getting brighter and brighter in the same place, kind of like just right here, and coming to that light to where it was so magnificent and bright in front that it does seem like there would be this tunnel of existence. So
Right.
it was pretty amazing to then start to experience outside of this universe entirely, or this dimensional experience and construct of shape and form. But it goes into a whole another story about having a council in heaven that I was discussing my purpose of life with and everything. And so even as I'm explaining it, it does sound like it's in shape and form, but it's not. And
Right.
it's not really separate. It's pretty phenomenal, of course. We can always get more in detail about it, but that's kind of like the end story. I mean, we want to, there's so much
Right.
more.
Yeah, there is. I can understand some of what you're speaking of just from my own experience of the undoing of my mind. I didn't have necessarily a seizure or anything like that, but I did, as I was forgiving, I've told this story before, but I was in so much pain and in so much fear. I sat on a dock one morning about 5 o'clock in the morning and read 40 of the course lessons at once, really absorbing it, like just drinking it in because I wanted out of the pain so much. not knowing that there was a little disclaimer from Jesus at the beginning is to do one a day. That's like one of the number one rules that Jesus puts into the course, which I didn't see. But there are no accidents. But at that time, the world just undid for me. I mean, as you said, it's unspeakable. It's that revelation where there are no words to what I saw, but it was definitely happening. So I can understand from that point of view of the understanding that the world that we see is not what we are. Like there's no doubt in my mind now. But man, I'm interested to hear you were talking about some dimensional stuff. What can you elaborate on that aspect of it?
I mean, I can go as far as the ends of all existence with it, but through my dimensional, or this, I call it a multidimensional death experience, because none of the words appropriately describe it at all, and everyone, just like what you were just doing, associates to their own experience, because we try and understand through what we know already, and so it's very hard to communicate. Not saying that you didn't understand it. I of course will associate to what you're talking about with my experience, and that's the thing about perception. Sure. And so as far as dimensions, there are 10 dimensions of reality, and I've actually experienced multiple forms of them and what experiences through that death experience. And I can point out into A Course in Miracles and what it is about and where it's teaching and how it talks about it and uses Christian terminology. But it was just more of so I was raised in the Mormon church around here, the LDS church, and the mainstream Mormon church. And there's this thing called the Plan of Salvation. And so it was a kind of a combination of the Plan of Salvation, trying to understand that with what I experienced. And it was essentially kind of the same thing, but it explained it, instead of a plan, it now revolved into these 10 dimensions of reality, that we can find the structure of every single religion and every single spiritual belief. Every practice is all confined within this 10 dimensions. So even if you get into multi universes, alternate realities, that's only in the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensions. That has trillions of options and variations, but it's still only the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensions. Okay. So it got a lot of detail. So, don't stress about it a whole lot, but I do teach courses about all of this, as well as A Course in Miracles and different tidbits that inspire people. Go take this terminology and run with it. This terminology and run with it, because they all lead to the truth, and we can use it all.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that I've understood, is that all paths will lead home. And, especially since I've started on this venture of coming forth and starting the Last Ego on Earth, how many people I've spoke to that has the truth from other different religions. And it's just solidifying that Spirit's speaking to everyone from their point of view. Steven and I were just talking about that before you came on, of how they'll just use you, and the way your mind is structured, the Holy Spirit will go in and help you get out of those blocks to lead home. I'm so interested in go ahead, I'm sorry.
It uses the symbols of your mind, so it's whatever you believe, it communicates through that. So it's pretty cool.
Right. It is super cool. I was saying it's just such an amazing, we just had a Zoom call too, where we were talking about this very same thing, and it's just magnificent how beautiful the Holy Spirit works. It's very patient, and will take the time with you to, when you're ready, to show you this symbol and this symbol and this symbol, this book, this person, and just lead you gently home. Of course, like what we've heard before, where it's waking you up slowly instead of jarring you awake. Holy Spirit's taking its time like a baby. Come and wake up from your nightmare, really slowly, which is the right thing to do. The loving thing to do. Which of course the ego would be the exact opposite of that. Hey, look over there, there's dirt, just keep you in constant chaos and separation. But yeah, man, I am so interested in this 10-dimensional thing. I really haven't heard anything like this. So I'm so interested in your thought system about the dimensions. I take that back. I have heard of the fourth and fifth dimension to an extent.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard of the entire 10 dimensions. Is that being taught in the Mormon religion, or
Not in that way, no.
No? Okay.
And they can't barely grasp besides a name. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but
Sure.
the names of each one, and they're really just a way in which, say, Joseph Smith, the Spirit used the symbols of his mind and what he was able to comprehend to attempt to teach about it. And so, I mean, it really is elementary compared to what I'm referring to arrogantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there authors that you'd recommend that have books containing that information?
I do not come from any sort of reading anybody's information about anything, but I take that back. I don't know for sure if he has a book or not, but there's when I was in this discovery and being told about it was 10 dimensions, I looked up 10 dimensions and I found a YouTube video about a mathematician who was just explaining it in mathematical constructs, right? And so there's a big misunderstanding with it, of course. In mathematics structure, it is similar, but it thinks of like the second dimension as just a flat surface, right? Flatlanders, when it's actually energetic beings.
Okay.
Yeah, and so third dimension is physical form like this, like a cube, opposed to a square. But your spirit, your soul, originally was the second dimension, and the first dimension is what we refer to as Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
The source, the first before the split.
Yeah, well, there was a zeroth dimension, which is all that is, which is God.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, zero then.
Yeah, going
Love that.
deep, man. This is cool. Yeah, this is like the concept I understand of the different layers of the onion.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the third dimension you have to speak from the different layers. And like then when you find somebody that you're speaking to in this plane of existence, you're like, what layer are they on? Oh, okay, I can go down into that layer, or we can go up above and look above the onion if we want to also. So that's cool. So what are some of your concepts beyond this reality? You're saying this is the fourth dimension or third dimension? Are we going into a fourth? Or?
If we're pointing at something, we're talking about the third dimension. But what is pointing, your ego, is the fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension is concepts of physical reality in time and space. Right. So time actually didn't exist until the fourth dimensional perspective.
Okay.
So it is the only one that can comprehend. It is the mind that can comprehend the fact that there's a beginning to this program or an end to this sentence. Yeah.
Right. I gotcha.
So it is a prison. Going back to the Mormon church, I still call it a spirit prison because you still believe you're alive in a body. You're imprisoned in a body. So A Course in Miracles' purpose is to take you out of the fourth dimensional perspective into the fifth. That's literally the purpose of it. And so it speaks solely and strictly on that. You have to, in the Mormon church, they say you have to accept Jesus for yourself. And it really is, you have to accept Christ as yourself. We're talking about the first dimension that has authority of this. Okay, so you have to recognize the authority in which developed the whole imprisonment of being a body to I am not a body, I am free, which is spirit paradise of the fifth dimension.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep. I'm with you though, man. Totally.
It's
cool.
out there. It's intense.
Yeah,
I lose people all the time with it.
No, I'm with you because like what I was saying, some of the concepts that were unspeakable, really, I was kind of shown in a revelation in different segments that only I could understand with symbols or things that it's unspeakable, really. But what I'm hearing from you definitely rings true. It's interesting to hear your concept. So outside of the body, in the fifth dimension, would you is that's also a part of the dream, or are we talking about the happy dream that the Course speaks of at that moment? Like, are we starting to kind of undo the ego and then we're just spirit, just experiencing again?
It's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah.
So there is never anything outside of the 0th, 1st, and 2nd dimension. That it's actually just a repetition of that, kind of like a rip. So it's all God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So the 2nd dimension is the holy spiritual universe. That's with a W, right? And 2 L's. Holy spiritual universe. So everything is that energy. And we call it a holographic representation. So it is a holographic representation of the, say, partial aspect of the mind of the Son of God and the totality of what all existence possible has in it, which is God. So the communication device, the representative, the voice of God, is that holy spiritual universe that only represents what's in the mind of the Son of God, while it in the totality of what is the mind of God. So it is making the development of imagery, and we're evolving our consciousness of, say, starting off as the tiny aspect of the Son of God into more and more about itself, knowing more about itself, because the only purpose of the Son of God is to come to know the totality of God and every last little possible variation of it. So that's why in this variation, the bodies, this is only one option of trillions of options of coming to know God, coming to know itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And from the course perspective, though, we're also letting go of fear that we created too, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different variations of frequencies and everything that we can be focused on. But essentially what A Course in Miracles of getting out into that 5th dimensional perspective is that we had to come into this confines and make a decision to seem as if we're separate and confined so that we can add and expand to it. Kind of in the way of how are you going to learn how to think infinitely if you don't realize that you don't want to be confined?
I see. An experience. Yeah, from what I understood is that, we created, God created us as the Son, and then the tiny mad idea happened where we decided, like, what would it be like not to be God? And then boom, right? So the entire separation aspect started, right? And then now there's a lot of parts of the mind that are in super fear. I was there. I know that I was in like a very horrible fear state, and that's still trickling out for me to let go, of course. And even the world where it's at right now, just being on lockdown and all the fearful things that the media is telling us and all those things are parts of ourselves that we now let go over to Holy Spirit to let go of those false parts of ourselves, the parts of the mind that are in that separated aspect.
I think in a way to clarify that it's not so much to get rid of fear or any sort of negative aspect of that, but to recognize that you are the author and creator of them. And so it's to recognize that authority position of being that Christ, so that you put yourself in these confines, you made up fear, you made up all these reasonings and made it justifiable. Oh, I'm a body now, I can get sick and all this different things, instead of what it's attempting to do is to help you to recognize, no, you are literally what this world calls God. I mean, as the creator of the dream. And so you don't have anything to fear because literally you made it all, and you can make it all in any way you want. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, over the past 5 years, I've gotten to that point of, where it talks about the atonement becoming a part of the solution instead of the problem, and staying down in the ego's game, keeping the separation going. You're now a part of the solution of awakening yourself and unblocking love's presence that we truly are, and it just takes all the weight off, it takes all the pain away. Even in chaotic situations, it's just like, I can breathe, I know that I'm supported through all this. Like, there's not really anything going on that can harm me in this situation because I'm not a body. Walk through the grocery store, you see people wearing masks, kind of not looking at you, and you're just like, hey, I'm here. I can go inward. None of this is really happening, and I can find peace in this moment and just let it go and let it go and let it go. We talk about all the time now that we're in the classroom of Holy Spirit, because the mad idea that we created is now being used as the classroom to let go. And that's, again, so beautiful, you know?
So that mad idea, I mean, it's an interesting thing, but it was the idea that we say is almost the basis of what is the physical reality. And if we look at even physics, the basis of its reality is as Newtonian physics. We try to recognize that even the most fundamental law of it all is opposition and having an opposite, that everything has an opposite, or it has a space that it is and a space that it is not. And so everything, as far as based off of this, is literally all the laws come from that. And that mad idea is that sense of opposition. You could have anything that is separate from anything else. But as to say if it's a bad thing or a good thing or anything, it makes no difference. It's just an experience. Like, it's not, the Course doesn't require that you apply guilt to it, that you're supposed to get out because you're doing something wrong. It is more so of helping you to recognize that this is what you've designed by simply having another concept, another thought. And so it all comes into existence. Now, how can you think your way out of it? Like, what would you add to it to get out of it? And that's what the 10 dimensions are about. That what we're adding to it is essentially finding superhuman abilities.
Mm. Yeah, could you elaborate on that part?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we think of ourselves still as human, and essentially, instead of just jumping straight out, which we are able and capable of doing, it's more so of just stretching and expanding the laws that we see already. So as you were mentioning about taking the baby steps, or you didn't use those words, but gently awakening us, that's kind of the same thing, is that finding human abilities or superhuman abilities is also, in that sense, just a little bit more out of the ordinary, a little more, just stretch it a little bit more instead of just wake up completely. Like, it's
Gotcha.
more about experience than it is just about, hey, you're doing this wrong, wake up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which I believe that's what you're speaking of, is what the Course speaks of, the happy dream. That we start waking up out of the dream and start realizing, whoa, we're not a body, we can do this, we can do that. Things get a little more fun, a little bit more light. You start finding joy. Things are just coming to you at a rapid pace because you do, like you said, realize that you are the projector of the dream, right? So you're like, I want to manifest a car, and the next day somebody like, hey, here's a car. You're like, whoa, this kind of thing. Which it's kind of funny. It is like you have a superpower at that point, right? You're just kind of like, wow, I am the maker of all this,
Yeah. So I mean, like, taking it in that way, yes, it's kind of like lucid dreaming. Like, when you get into lucid dreaming, you can get a car, but you can also fly off the planet.
Sure. Or be in the universe like you right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's all baby steps. We don't completely believe we can do that yet. That's pretty far out there. How do we believe that we have the authority, that we developed and created a whole universe of a dream, if we can't even believe that we can manifest a car or fly off the planet? So I mean, it's all still baby steps, but it is expanding upon this idea. So to clarify a little bit also, with the fifth dimension, this is where the mind again is joined. So this is where we all know each other as ourselves. So to recognize that in A Course in Miracles, it does talk about that, essentially discovering that we all the same. And in the same way, we share talents and beliefs, and that we don't, in the Bible even refers to it, that every knee will bow, I'm botching it, right? And every tongue will speak the name of Christ. And that is literally everybody will speak from Christ, knowing Christ.
Yeah. Knowing that we're not separated at all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's totally. It's beautiful. And that's the realizing that when you take up the mantle of becoming a part of the atonement, that's where you find yourself. Every brother, every sister that you end up speaking to, you're like, wow, this is me. This is me, and that's me, and this is me. And it becomes a giant party that you were not a part of before. You know what I mean? Like you like kind of cut yourself off from that. Just kind of hiding behind the veils, and then you lift it. And you're like, oh my God, why did I not take this off sometime before? It was kind of like me and avocados. Like all my life I was like, no. And then like when I was like 35, I had my first avocado. I was like, oh my God, well, what was I doing? You know, like what is happening?
Is that the green egg and ham? Green eggs and ham? You finally tried it.
There it is. Yeah, I finally tried the green egg and ham. Yeah. Hey, Steven, do you have any questions, buddy?
I was just gonna say
Too many. Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Devan, since you brought this up, give me an example of some superhuman thing that you've experienced.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
If you want. If you want.
Okay.
I mean, it's very interesting to me, of course, because my path is different than yours so far in certain specifics, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely love the subject. So it is definitely, it's still really far out there. I've kind of touched a little bit on it with some of my courses and my podcasting and stuff, and it still is in the realm of being rejected and not in the sense of completely accepted. But as far as, so right after my death experience was the most profound one. Few weeks, maybe. It was January of the 13th year, or 2013, right? And I was having kind of helping someone with their, how to explain it? Well, I was just helping someone with getting through some stuff and having this energy exchange, and it actually ended up where he was getting so frustrated he slapped me across the face and I went flying across the room. I don't even remember it.
Wow.
And I woke up like 20 feet away from it, so I don't know exactly what happened there, if I was dragged over there.
Wow.
But in any case, I got up from that and I started walking and hiking towards these big rocks. We were out camping, and there are these really big rocks, and I just like plowed for it, and I went for these rocks, and they come to them. They were much bigger than I thought, size of a house, on top of each other, each one, and several stories. And I didn't realize what I was coming to. And I come to this rock. I look up it like it's a wall, and I think to climb it. I'm like, I really don't. I question it. I doubt it. And I hear Morpheus, free your mind.
Right. For your mind.
And I turned to this other rock right next to it, not quite as steep, at least had some angle to it. So, but it would still, thinking back on it, there's no way that it's possible to actually climb up it freehand. But I got to that moment. And I changed my mind about it, and it wasn't as if I was climbing up a rock. It was as if I was crawling on the ground, because to me, gravity shifted, and the wall was the ground to me, and I crawled up it, and then it shifted when I was back up on top, and I looked back and like, well, okay, this can happen.
Right. Wow.
Wow.
Cool.
I've seen that in movies.
Yeah. Too many movies.
Yeah. The Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's really trippy, like to feel the structure of what we're so used to as far as the laws like of gravity as one, to be able to adjust and shift it is absolutely mind-blowing. But to be in the experience, to feel it and to feel the change occur. I mean, I have no witnesses. I have no one to contest that this actually happened or anything. Mm-hmm. Just my own psycho and me, myself, and I. He contests to it all the time.
There you go. Yeah. So that would be what the course would call a revelation. It's just unexplainable and awe. You're just like, whoa, that was wild. You know, like, that's awesome. That's awesome. Man, wow. That's great. I'm blown away with that.
It's kind of like, now where do we go with that? Yeah. Thanks a lot, Steven.
Well, I think that's a great step in our evolution as a mind, right? To get us back out of the, like you said, a lucid dream where we're not stuck in this 2D reality, which, by the course perspective, the first, few lessons are, I don't know what this is for. I don't know what that is for. It's because the collective mind has said a cup does this, a table does that. So like you said, it keeps us in that state of being kind of locked in a box, in the mind. We're like, a cup, if I drop it, I'm going to spill the water out and it's going to break, possibly. Not knowing that we could just stick it in the air and just let it stick there probably, because it's all just a pliable Play-Doh here, right?
Yeah.
Which, I've had my own experiences, especially when my mind was undoing of some miraculous things that like what you were saying, signs changing in front of me and, dimension, I think it's like a dimensional kind of thing was happening to me all around, it was just like a whirlwind or a hurricane where I was really literally being shown that this is not home, most of it's unspeakable, I can't, like you said, there's no witnesses to what I'm saying, but it was definitely happening in my mind. Of course, the ego mind people that I knew were like, you're losing it, man, you're losing it. And yeah, I was losing my egoic mind, it was definitely falling away.
Dimension psilocybin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, what is going on? But yeah, and luckily with that experience, it's solidified in me when I'm taking things too seriously, I can go back to those moments and kind of pull that slide out and go, remember this? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I can get through this and I can get through this. And every day, a little bit more of the letting go of the fearful separated self that's being shown out there. But I am finally getting to that point where for me, it's still the everyday letting go, if something, in some way, form, or fashion, an argument with my wife, she's doing the course also. We always bounce back and forth and bring it back to truth. If we start getting at a argumentative state, it's like, that's your ego. Yeah, it's my ego. Let's let it go over to Holy Spirit and just continually cleanse, the house, the inside house. And it's a beautiful thing. Is your relationship with your wife, is she into this type of thinking, or?
Not entirely. People ask me, are you guys on the same page with spirituality? I like when they say it like that because I refer to the whole book, and whatever page she's on, I'm in the whole book. So we're sharing in that way. But it's kind of like in the relationship with anybody, is that you never really 100% relate completely entirely, as far as you're putting it in that sense of helping each other and assisting each other. It's still, as far as specifically with my relationship with my wife, is more so that it's always me. It's always me. I can't point to her at all, and so it's really in this just accepting complete responsibility. And as much as, even referring back to that death experience, that's what I discovered in that, and when I was in that council, there was the option of leaving and staying out of this and continuing on elsewhere, or in alternate landscapes, really undescribable. Or to come back, I would have to accept resentment or grievance or an upset of any form. I needed judgment in order to be in this world. And so I had to, I also had my life, they showed me kind of the future options and variations I could live. And I saw a family that I was going to have and everything. And I chose as resentments that I would resent the fact that I wouldn't have the family variations that I could have. And I wouldn't be sharing and teaching and helping people to understand. And it would be misunderstood. And I would just be, oh, Devan just died, And,
right. Wow.
Yeah, so when I accepted resentment and grievances, again, had judgments snapped back right in the physical body. So I completely contest to the fact that if you want to discover the totality of truth, of God, and of what is occurring, all you have to do is forgive everything. It sounds like it's like you just have to have no judgments anymore whatsoever. because this world is literally the basis of that opposition. In order to judge or to know if something's hot or cold, you have to be able to judge it, hot or cold, or up or down, you know, is gravity this way or that way. And it's really just stepping out of completely out of judgment. And that's what forgiveness is really meant to be and is taught about. It's not just about, oh, she's fat or he's ugly. No, it's literally he, she, what are you talking about? Bodies? You have to have judgments to discern between existence at all. So this world is everything. Every last little detail of this camera, the shape of it and everything of me, and is all judgments.
Sure. Man, that's true. Yeah, I that rings so good in my mind. I'm getting to that same step that you're at with that, daily realizing just how it's all created from us, stemming from us.
It just takes one.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just takes one.
One judgment and the whole world's here. Yeah.
Yeah, just a boom, here it is in your face. And what a great time to be living in right now. I mean, I know, you know, with the chaotic aspect of the mind right now, a great unfolding's happening. That's what I would like to talk to you about. That, do you feel like right now something big's happening?
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of different things happening. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot of things happening. Let's put it in this way. The faith of a mustard seed, in which is referred to in the Bible to move mountains, is not of somebody else. It's faith in yourself and of the recognition of what you are, in which could move mountains. You have to recognize the authority in which made the mountain. So it's the same thing with any sort of political thing, or what is it, viral thing?
Yeah, the virus.
It's like, it's only here because you still have that, say, in your mind.
Right. Yeah, it's just, you know, in a lot of people's experience, something this large hasn't happened on this kind of scale, you know, where everybody's kind of experiencing the same thing, except for Sweden, of course. We have some friends in Sweden where they're not affected by, say, the virus, you know. But yeah, it's interesting to speak to people from all over the world, which of course, you know, we take it back. Of course, it's all happening in our mind. But what a great opportunity of forgiveness this is becoming right now with you know, the chaos that's shown on the news. I don't even watch the news, and I'm bombarded by it, like, say, through social media. You know, there'll just be like 10, 12 news articles just being shoved in my face from somewhere, of course, and I just have to look. Okay, I'm gonna let that go, and then of course the next day it's a whole another 12 problems being shown to let go, and then I'm just embracing that, you know. Time to keep going to class, keep letting it go, going inside with it, and I really do feel freer and freer.
Devan, so because of your experience of like choosing to come back into the judgment world again, has it given you like insight, or whatever word I'm going to use, to like see through things? They don't stop you from seeing through them, and they don't like push back at you. Because are you able to? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
I think so. You're not talking actual structure, physical transparency.
No,
because that's there too.
Experiments here.
Yeah, that can be there.
Yeah, the appearance.
Yeah, as far as the COVID thing being completely fabricated, yeah, absolutely. As far as many different things, even our government structure, the way we think it is not what we think it is. It's only all propaganda. And this whole, say, illuminated ones, or the Illuminati, are really just multidimensional beings that do control this whole thing, because they have a thought and it literally changes reality. So it's not actually structured by rich people and physical things, and in that sense. But yes, you can see when things are absolute and when they are not. Did my audio go?
No, you're still here.
No, you're fine.
I can't hear myself, so let me start that. Okay, there we go. My audio feedback something or other came on to stop me. So what was I saying? As far as seeing through things, maybe there's something specifically that you're referring to, but another story maybe. Around after my death experience, we were in Sedona, Arizona, and we went to this drum circle, moon drum circle thing. It was amazing. And I got into this conversation with these two guys that were, it was very passionate. It was enjoyable. And then I didn't realize that they were upset at me or anything like that. I had no idea. I saw it as just a peaceful exchange until my partner jumped in and she tried to defend me and all this stuff. And then it turned into this whole nother thing. But I had no idea whatsoever that it was, they were getting, say, upset at me. I still don't believe it.
You're saying you kind of reflected a level of innocence that you didn't have before.
Yeah, I would, using those terms, absolutely. It happens all the time. People can express to me that they're being upset, and unless I choose to be like, oh, upset means that,
right.
you know, upset.
instead
of it meaning just like, hey, we're doing something else. Like innocent can be happy, can be mad, can be upset, can be any sort of variation, but it doesn't know. It is innocent and it has no judgment of if I'm yelling or if I'm laughing or if I'm just peaceful or whatever. It's more so, it's not about what's the expression of the body. It's about simply how are you insisting that the expression is something other than absolute peace. Like peace is transcendent of those, say, emotions.
And what do you mean when, I think I know, but I want to hear you say it. What do you mean by peace is transcendent of those?
Yeah, so
it overcomes it. Is that what you mean?
Well, sorry, I cut you off. Using terms from A Course in Miracles, it's above the battleground. The peace of God is continuous forever. It is eternal and always the same. But on the battleground, there can be battles happening. And when I'm invested into the battle, into the person, I think I'm upset. But when I'm watching or aware above the battleground, I'm not upset. My body might be expressing upset, and everybody's having different judgments about it and all this variation, but it is like to see it in that sense as well as be in it at the same time. Is like, that's what we're attempting to do, is to disconnect from what is reality. And there is an aspect of A Course in Miracles that says eventually you won't feel anything at all. And that's, in that same sense, is referring to when like when I was plowing to that wall, to climb up that wall, I previously was concerned about where I was walking barefoot and everything. When I was plowing there, I was barefoot, stepping on bushes and rocks, and it was in the middle of the desert. I could have got ticks, all sorts of crazy things, right? And I did not even think about feeling it at all.
That's like being a child again, like a child mind. I remember when I used to be on a professional paintball team when I was younger, and they would just throw us out in the swampy woods of Florida, just running blindly with no glasses or no, well, I guess we had the little goggles or whatever, but I could have been impaled on many things. Moccasins could have bit me. It's like all these things because there was no fear in my mind. I was just like, I'm going to do this, and over the years, the ego starts seeping into you, and you start basing everything on your past experiences. Before you know it, you're not in the now anymore. You are in fear, and then you're in the ego's dream, which even when you were speaking just now, it's like the battlefield is the ego's script, right? When we go up and above it into the atonement or join with Holy Spirit, we can go and beyond that, like you said, and the things in front of us that seem like they're attacking us, we don't even know it anymore, like you said. And I can definitely attest to some of the things that I've experienced in that too. And it's beautiful that we can step out of it.
It's tricky too to really comprehend it, but it is very helpful to say, as far as the ego script, well, I'm the lord of the ego, so it is my script in that same sense, but to recognize that there is
Sure.
a script above that.
Above that, of course, yes. There's the layers, but yeah, we created it. We want out of it, so let's go to love and then look at that and let it go. So like we were creating on some sort of nightmarish realm, you know, and like you said, not even seeing it good nor bad. It's just you want to still be in it. I know that I don't, you know, especially with some of the things that I've experienced. So I'm ready to join with the atonement and help others, or help myself, of course. Get out of that nightmare for sure.
Just let it all go. You can't hang on to any of it. Yeah, just surrender.
Yeah, only hang on to love, right?
Oh, unless you think love has to do with the physical construct, then that's a misunderstanding.
That absolutely, for sure. Yeah. Boy, you're talking on those levels that I like, man. I like it. You're outside of talking, coming into it, so it's great.
Yeah, speaking of levels, as I teach all these different courses, I actually am developing 50 courses on my own this year, and I'm halfway through developing all of those, speaking from different terminology, different layers and levels. I'm currently going through energy immersion, which is like energy work and becoming aware of energy, and I have 7 different courses which are in that course series. And I'm even going down to the next course series is, what's it called? Periodical of Allies. And so it's all about relationships and applying all the truth to relationships. And then I'm doing an art class, actually going through art. And then the last one of this year is full spectrum diet, is finding a full balanced being, having nothing really to do with bodies, but recognizing that you have to accept everything in order to be everything.
Right. And also with the body, using the things of the earth to cleanse it, so it can be a better communication device from from my thought system. Eating a little bit healthier, those kind of things. I mean, you eat Twinkies all day, something's going to happen, or maybe not. Maybe some yogi up in the mountains eating as many Twinkies as he wants.
Screw fasting all the time. Just eat Twinkies all the time. It's like which is harder? I don't know.
Right, exactly. But
Devin, have you become familiar with the Way of Mastery book?
Not the book. No.
Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I have listened to some of the original
channelings.
Yes.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, anything can be inspirational. It's more so about when you're looking for Holy Spirit, when you're looking to understand, you can find it in every last little thing. It speaks through the Simpsons all the time to me. It's always there. It's when you're looking. And so if that's inspirational, if that's helping you, then absolutely stick with it. And that's something I'm always sharing with everybody is please follow your guidance. If it speaks to you, then use it, but make sure you're progressing with it.
Sure. Not just creating a dogma out of it, right?
Yeah, and that's what happens with religions. A lot of religions just get very stagnant and just say, oh, this is the definition. We're just wait for somebody else to come on high instead of progressing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So important to do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
In the class, it's important to be in the classroom and continually letting go with everything that separates itself, and connection's such an important thing too. Coming from a place of love, I'm really glad that we've gotten to connect, man. This is some interesting, really neat puzzle pieces. I makes me smile because what you're saying, I'm like, man, I gotta get more into this. I gotta listen to some of these. These classes are coming up soon. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, so those are the ones in the future coming up. I actually just did the embodied forgiveness. So I did 7 courses on how to forgive, and then transcending perceptions, which was getting out of large emotional upsets. And then evoking spirit was the first one I did this year. And so, mind you, each of these have 7 unique courses within them.
Okay. And this is found on your website, correct?
Yes.
Where we find you?
If you go to openandclear.com, I got a to listen and to learn and to do, but click to the learn and it takes you to that Academy page.
Okay. Cool, man. I got to check it out. I finally get to uncover the present.
I am revamping the whole website, so there's some things that don't work, and there's some strange pop-up things that I can't get rid of right now because I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah, man. Technology is funky sometimes, man. You know, I have like a Wix website thing, and you know, they act like it's the easiest thing on the planet, but man, there's some some boundaries in there sometimes where I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? You know, can't get a certain button to do, and a picture won't shrink. It's like, it's pretty wild, but everything's forgiveness, right? Used as a lesson.
we can definitely use it. And if you do, then you're on the right path. That's
absolutely. Yeah. All right, then we hit an hour. I guess we'll hit it here, or are you willing to go forward a little bit more, or how you feeling?
Well, I'm open. We can always have another chat some other time too.
We can do that. Absolutely.
I always love joining with others, and especially when we get into the discussing the nature of the universe. I love it. So.
Yeah, me too, man. You know, my sci-fi brain kicks on, and I'm like, I want to hear a little bit more about the seventh and eighth dimension of what Devan has to say about that. You know, because you know, I in this body of James. I've watched every sci-fi movie on the planet here, and I've got that kind of brain kicking on. So it excites me to think about stuff like that. I mean, it's fun, and I know a lot of it might be a little bit of ego still in it, like making it a little bit special. I always joke around that Star Wars is going to be my last lesson here on the planet. But I'm going to have to let it go finally. Like, there's another movie coming out. I don't want to go yet, you know, or something like that, or a figure that I have to buy, you know. But I'm slowly letting that go too. I'm slowly letting that go.
So to give you a little tidbit, the seventh dimension is referred to as the last judgment. So you can even see that in A Course in Miracles. So.
But that can happen here. Am I correct?
It's all here. All of these are here. They're not different places.
There's not different places. Yeah, because you know, all timelines, every dimension's happening at the same time. So you can tap into that now.
Have you seen the movie The Last Temptation of Christ or read the book?
Well, I saw the movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm going through. So that is expanding on dimensions. Like, you're going to be given other options of experiencing before you completely wake up.
Completely let it go.
Yeah.
Right. And death, from the Course in Miracles perspective, is the final lesson, correct?
Well, I recall several times of dying, but as far as it's only other people die, and you kind of just continue on.
Right.
Like, even as jumping to multiple universes and stuff, like, you've died millions of times in this life, every single day that you've been alive, and you've just continued on in another variation of it. So it gets a little tricky as we get into those higher dimensions, but
man,
you become aware of these things.
Yeah. Man, I'm just smiling inside because you're finally speaking some of the language that I couldn't like necessarily like speak to people about. You know, it's pretty cool, man. It's neat.
Yeah, and so A Course in Miracles is just a stepping stone, like a curriculum for that bridge from the fourth to the fifth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They mentioned that that step that the Father has to take you over. You know what I'm?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah.
You know what
the Father
I mean?
would take the last step. Yeah.
God takes the last step. Yeah.
That's actually referring to the 9th to the 10th dimension, which is the totality of all that is. The 10th dimension is the same as the 0th dimension. It's the beginning and the end. And
nice.
So going to the 9th dimension, it's like there's only one last little, and that is God, the totality of all that is. So you can't go there separately because it is all that is.
Yes.
Right.
I get it. Yes.
But yes, you're being pulled along all the time. anyway. So, I mean, you have the innate drive to discover and to explore, to find out more. That's what the Son of God was given as far as the motivation, the inspiration to explore all that is.
Wow. That's great, right?
Yeah, it's fun. That's that you feel it. That's that excitement. Like with this,
like,
finding A Course in Miracles, you're like, oh yes, I can find out more. This life is. I learned everything in this life. Now there's more. Yeah, keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally. It's like better than Disney World. Every day I wake up and just like, what's next? You know? Oh, we're gonna talk to Rev Dev. It's like riding the roller coaster. You know? It's like, what are we gonna hear from Devan? You know? And some of the things that you're saying are just making me smile inside, just because I've seen some of these things that you're speaking of, but beyond words, to hear them, you being able to speak them is really just a big smile.
Yeah, to articulate it is a whole nother story. But yes, everyone has experienced all of it. We just want to kind of open up the gateway to recognizing it's happening. As it is all here, like God is here right now.
Right.
But it's, it's just those layers and layers and layers really of concepts, of ideas and everything that we're adding onto it. And that really is what dimensions are.
Sure. Yeah. And that's what's so beautiful about speaking, to say your perspective is not, when the ego tries to say, well, man, that's not what I'm learning, and separates.
Yeah.
Like forgiving has allowed me to listen to anyone, you know what I mean? And come from that place of love and say, man, he's a part of me. I want to hear what he has to say, because it's stemming from us, right? Or inside. So I'm welcoming all everyone in their thought system. And I'm not saying that's wrong at all, just trusting that the classroom is here and I'm willing to learn and remember like who I truly am,
Exactly.
And it makes life so much more fun. It makes every experience that you like meet people on the street and they might say something, and you're not like judging what they say. You just kind of accept it. Doesn't mean you have to go, I'm going to follow that, but you like, okay, they're on their own journey.
Yeah.
Like what we said, we're all undoing parts of the mind with, especially once we accept the atonement for ourselves, then we become a part of the solution. We're like the medicine to the virus, right? And then we can just connect, bring the mind back so that we can just have fun. And like you said, man, I'm ready to walk through walls and climb up, do the things, the superhuman fun things that you see, because, you feel that in your dreams, you see that in your dreams. I remember I have dreams all the time of flying around and like, well, I'm levitating and stuff like that. And, that's like where the fun starts happening, right?
Yeah.
On those next rungs up, right?
I mean, even taking that for an example, like what's the fun of levitating if you're always levitating?
True. There you go.
The confines of this world is to make it fun to expand into the infinite.
And that's the beauty in God.
Yeah. Superhuman abilities will get old and we'll get tired of and we'll be done with, especially living for 2,000 years. It's like, it's going to be boring after a while. Right. You're going to be like, there's nothing else to learn. And so you're going to expand out to that.
From that,
yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, wow. Man, this is deep, man. This is deep. The man from the universe. When we have you on the show, like if you call this a show, a conversation, you have always got to be in that universe back set.
I can do
awesome.
That. Yeah.
I could do that.
I got this nice spot.
Car.
This nice spot on the moon here. So okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Well, buddy, yeah, man, thanks for being on with us. I'm so glad that we have connected, and I'm looking forward to having a part 2 with you for sure, because I know that that's going to get deep. Is there any other plugs that you want to share real quick? I mean, you just maybe say the site again and when the next teachings that you're doing.
So I haven't been doing them live. I do somewhat broadcast on a live podcast behind the scenes sometimes. But I'm also doing community courses. I do with other people. Chandrat Sangat is actually doing something with me a lot. We do a course on out-of-body experiences, astral perception, and lucid dreaming. And we use all of that to teach the same truth, to kind of go into that. So as far as I'm open, if anybody out there wants, and you two want to get involved in, say, community courses, doing a course with me. I got some yoga coming up. I got free therapy coming up. I'm pretty excited from all around the world. But you can find out more about it at openandclear.com. And that's open, OPENANDCLEAR.com.
Open and clear. Gotcha. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, buddy. Love you, dude. So
nice
glad
to meet you,
we're
Stephen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next side, buddy.
Have a beautiful day.
You too, buddy. Bye. And awkward.
Yes. Where do I stop there, sir?
We don't. We just keep going.
I'm going to record my courses right now, too.
There you go.
See you guys.
See you, buddy. Have a great day.
Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. Prepare yourself for all it's worth. Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. Prepare yourself, the last ego on earth. Prepare yourself from the dirt to the birth. Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. The last ego.